This is the eye model for Lab 12. The eye is a round ball that is hollow inside. It has 3 tissue layers. The outermost is the sclera with the cornea. Then we have the choroid. And then the innermost will be the retina. Inside there will be fluid in the front called the aqueous humor, and in the back called the vitreous humor. So looking at the eye model here, this white coloration is the sclera. It's tough connective tissue for protection of the eye, and in the front the sclera gives rise to the transparent cornea. So light can enter through the cornea. The cornea can change shape to help bend the light waves, and the light will enter and go through the pupil. Now if we take off the sclera, the next layer we have is this brown colored area with blood vessels. It is vascular, and this is called your choroid. You can see it a little better. This is the middle layer. And the choroid will give rise to, in the front, the iris, which is the colored portion of your eye, if you have brown eyes or blue eyes or green eyes. And in the very center of that will be a hole, which is the pupil, which is where the light will go through. Now there will be fluid in between the cornea going into the pupil and bathing the lens, which is right behind the pupil, and that fluid is called aqueous humor. It is in the anterior chamber of the eye, or anterior cavity. When I take this layer off, the innermost layer here is the retina. The retina also has some blood vessels, and in the front of the retina, where this is where the pupil would be, there is a muscle here, and this little red muscle is called the ciliary bodies. It is going to be involved in changing the shape of the lens. It will be attached to the lens, which this is the lens right here. It sits right here surrounded by the ciliary bodies. It will be attached by suspensory ligaments that will hold the lens in place, and when the muscles contract or relax, it will change the shape of the lens. It will round up more if you're looking at something that is close up, and flatten if you're focusing on something in the distance. Now in the back of the retina, we have 2 areas of concern. Right here we have the optic nerve exiting the retina. This area where it leaves the retina is called the optic disc, and there is no vision here. You can see nothing here because there are no photoreceptors here. It's called your blind spot. And then right next to it, this little purple circle is going to be what's called the fovea centralis. Now this is the area where you want all the light to bend and hit perfectly in the very center of the fovea centralis, because it has the best visual acuity. The fovea centralis is down a little divot, so there's a little bump, and it's right in the center. The divot is called the macula lutea, and that will further bend the light. Okay. We have the lens here that we have removed, and then this is supposed to be symbolic of the fluid in the back of the eye called the vitreous humor, which is a more gelatinous fluid, whereas aqueous humor in the front is going to be watery and replaced continuously. You were born with this vitreous humor, you do not make more, and the main function is to help to stabilize the shape of the eyeball and to put a little pressure on the retina to keep it attached to the choroid, because it requires its blood supply and oxygen and nutrients to come from the blood vessels of the choroid.